Hey Scrappy Names fans, how are we all? So I'm up with an Arty Fun Friday video for you, and this one's got a bit of everything in it. So as you can see here, I've got this cut file here, this gorgeous wreath kind of looking heart shape kind of one, and what I've done is cut it out of my Silhouette Cameo. I think I got it from the Cameo store, the Silhouette store actually. I think from memory it's just from the Silhouette store. I've got some white cardstock there, which is one of those craft stores I usually get version of like a basil marshmallow kind of one, but I still pre-gesso, like I gessoed it anyway. And yeah, and away I go. So I've chucked on some texture paste through that pencil here, edited a fair chunk of that out so you don't have to see it and quicken up the process. So you can just see a little bit here of what I'm doing, just using my little palette knife here, or plastic palette knife, spatula, that's what it's called, whatever you want to call it, and just going around in different random spots. As you could see, I sort of had an idea where I was going to put that cut file, and I decided to use, I tossed up whether or not I was going to use pattern paper for the cut file or a white background. It actually took me ages to work out how I was going to do this layout, but I decided to go with the pattern paper and see how it worked. I did have a bit of trouble cutting out the cut file. I just think I'm still learning the Cameo ways and just playing around with the settings a little bit on it, but I managed to get it to work and finish, and it looks all good for me. So yes, so I am delving really mixed media here. I've got new Jane Davenport incredible inks recently. I'm absolutely loving Jane Davenport's goodies, and her as an artist actually myself, so I'm delving into that side of things, and I decided that I would pop on some of her inks, as you can see here, and then I'm going to spray those with my mist bottle. Oh, the lighting changed there. And I'm just going to run them around over that texture paste. Now, I filmed this a few weeks ago. From memory, I might have got this idea from the lovely Inky Quiddle. I can't remember if it's on one of her Patreon videos or one of her Let's Get Inky ones, maybe. I can't remember, where she did a similar technique, texture paste, mixed media, and used the Jane Davenport mermaid marker. So a very similar sort of technique. So it inspired me to have a play with my inks, my new ink, Jane Davenport inks, I can't get that out, to use them on the texture paste as well, and they are stunning to use. I absolutely freaking love them. But as you can see, I left this in just so you could see how I got the technique going. They do move really well. They're quite fluid and run around. I just wanted to water them down a bit more with the texture paste. Does sort of catch the ink and whatnot, so I used my brush just to also get it flowing across and cover that texture paste as well. But I had two different colours which I showed you at the beginning with the mermaid's tail, and I have them here on my desk, whether the mermaid's tail in the fresh air or they might have been the dark blue, actually the hydrangea. So the mermaid's tail and the hydrangea, so two different shades of blue, but they mix together in like a bluey green and a dark blue. But I really love them. So I've popped my cut file down now. Dried. I did have to wait a while for it to dry. I didn't want to blast it too much with the heat tool. I didn't know how the inks would react, and I been doing my research with the inks, and I do vaguely recall Jane saying not to blast them too much, I think from memory, with the heat gun, so I just let them dry naturally off and on. So I did go away and come back and fuss around and look for ephemera and things like that. But yeah, so because there's so much heavy mixed media, the gesso, the texture paste and the inks, I'm using wet glue, because yeah, otherwise I don't think things will stick very well. So I just tossed up whether or not to pop my photo down on some craft foam and give it some layering. In the end, I decided it needed a sort of doily behind it, just to give it a bit of lift off that background a bit, just to give it a bit of interest behind it as well. I didn't want it to melt away, disappear into all that colour in the background. Where are you? I had a lot of trouble making decisions, more than normal, with this layout. I really wanted to go all out, but mojo was slightly down a little bit when I was wanting to do this. Wanted to do it, had an idea, didn't know how to execute it, I think is probably the best way. And yeah, so I just wasn't sure. Decisions were just, there was a lot of editing involved here, and coming to and fro and whatnot. So I think the lighting changes a little bit because I sort of had to come back and forth. But yes, anyway, so, you know, you have those moments, I think, where you just have those, sorry if you can hear my girls in the background. It's just before school. I'm going to squeeze this voiceover in, and before I race them off to school and work for the day. And yeah, so hopefully this will go up actually on time this week. It was supposed to go up about a week or two ago, and I haven't got to voiceovering it. So I'm taking the time to do it this morning because I have time. So I've just backed the photo onto a bit of vellum because I still thought it needed a bit of a border behind it. And being that I already got the white of the doily, I didn't think it needed white of some sort of paper. It's got a lot of colour in the background, so it didn't need any more paper layers. So I went with vellum. Process of elimination, really, especially when you're as indecisive as me. And it just gives that nice soft layer without too much emphasis. Now, the ephemera side of things and embellishing and all that was really tricky because I didn't want to add, again, too much because of all of the colour and everything in the background and the cut file. So I'm just pulling things randomly from my stash, to be honest. This is some some phrases from Inky Quill, Adele's Toomies, if you're not familiar. Patreon printables. I have a little container with all her printables. She does those each month. And I think this says, "You are my sun, my stars, or my moon, my sun, and all my stars," or something like that, I think. And this photo here is actually of me, my partner, and my daughter. We're at our two oldest children's school Christmas concert from about 2 years ago. Yes, still going from 2 years ago. I actually think this is nearly the last photo for the 2016 album, so yay! These are also a printable, her art, Inky Quill art print from her Patreon. I actually turned them into a sticker sheet, which is an idea she gave her Patreon peeps, and I wanted to use them because I wanted to see how well they would go, and I really love the pops of little colour and detail that these little circle pieces added to my layout here. The colours matched in really the different colours of the pattern paper for the cut file, as well as the inks in the background. So they just added some nice little pops here and there around the page. I'm just cutting off the excess around the edge there. And they're just subtle. I didn't think I needed lots of big, sometimes when you've got like a clean white sort of background, or even when it's mixed media, but it's not lots of kind of messy mixed media like this one is, you can put lots of embellishing and it doesn't look too overwhelming, to me anyway. I didn't need that for this page, I thought, for this layout, so hence why there's just little pops of stickers, and there'll be lots little bits and pieces here and there. Girls, keep your voice down, please. And I just sort of went with, it's a picture of outdoors, so I went with a nice, I guess, garden kind of theme went in my head, a garden, lovey, nicey kind of tone theme sort of to the page, hence why I've got the clouds and the flowers and, that little quote down the bottom, because, yeah, it was just a nice little afternoon gathering, watching the kids. So, and I'm just using some leftover pieces. I think these are all leftover from potentially earlier in the year, late last year, of my Kidaholic kits. I've just grabbed them out of my stash of my embellishment pieces, and I'm just trying to use some of those up because some of them are just, the last little bits and pieces of my kits, and I am trying to make a bit of an effort to use them up. And I'm going up the letter. Can't decide if I want to split these up, these last little bits, into my containers that are color coded of my embellishments, and maybe I should, so there's not as much on my little trolley next to my desk, or yeah, but then that takes time to sort them out. Maybe when I'm in a want to be crafty, have no mojo kind of mood, maybe I should do that then. Maybe. Anyway, so just adding a little cluster down the bottom here. Again, nothing major, just a little something to that in the corner. It looked a little plain to me. I just liked the little blue droppy bits in the back from the inks. But I just wanted something there. And I think it says choose joy every day. The little heart flare from Flutterby Designs. And I'm not really sure I add too much more. Oh, I've added some little puffy hearts. Oh, and another word, a phrase piece there. So there's my little container in the top right. You can see of all the little Patreon phrase pieces. It is, the page has warped a little bit, even with the gesso. There's a lot of wet media on there. But again, at the end of the day, it's going to go into an album and flatten out with the weight of the album anyway. So it doesn't really matter too much to me. As long as the page doesn't tear or anything, I'm not really worried. Oh, I did need some Heidi Swap Gold Colour Shine just to add a bit of bling to the page and finish it off. And that is it. A very, very arty Fun Friday layout here. Lots of media, mixed media. But yeah, if you've got any questions, please leave them in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I've got some close-ups at the end, and thank you so much for stopping by. See you again soon. Bye.